Christopher Young said the deadly drug felt like it was burning inside his body as he was put to death. He said just minutes before falling silent and drawing his last breath, "I can taste it in my throat." The 34-year-old fatally shot a convenience store owner during a robbery and was executed by lethal injection despite pleas for clemency from victim Hasmukh Patel's son and capital punishment opponents. In his final statement, released by state officials, Young said, "I want to make sure the Patel family knows I love them like they love me. Make sure the kids in the world know I'm being executed, and those kids I've been mentoring keep this fight going. I'm good, Warden." Young, who had released a video in a final regular plea to be spared, was convicted of murdering Mr. Patel, 55, at a convenience store in San Antonio, Texas in November 2004 and sentenced to death. The lethal dose was administered at Texas's state penitentiary in Huntsville on Tuesday evening. It began at 6:13 p.m. local time, and Young soon complained about the effects of the drug, wrote San Antonio Express news reporter Emilie Eaton, who served as an official witness to the execution. He said, "I can taste it in my throat," adding that it burned, the journalist reported. Young opened his eyes, stared at the ceiling, and then closed his eyes before mumbling incomprehensible words, Ms. Eaton added. He was pronounced dead at 6:38 p.m. Recently, a number of death row inmates in the U.S. have complained of a burning feeling while being put to death by lethal injection. In a statement afterwards, Mr. Patel's adult children Mitesh and Rinal said, "When we as a family look back on what Hasmukh stood for and the values that he instilled in his family, we can look for the good in people, including looking at the good in Christopher Young." The man that was executed today by the state of Texas was not the same man that killed Hasmukh Patel. Christopher was a father to his daughters and a man who desired to break the chain of gang violence through mentorship. A number of groups had argued for clemency, and the calls were backed by Mitesh Patel, who wanted Young's sentence to be commuted to life in prison. Mitesh Patel said Young had shown contrition over the murder and was working to help others avoid a life of crime or gangs. He told a rally last week that the execution would not take us toward any positive outcome. Lawyers for the African-American man filed a last-minute appeal, arguing that race was a factor in the decision this month by the Texas Board of Pardons and Paroles to deny requests to halt the execution. Read more top stories from Mirror Online. The board had recommended clemency in a similar case earlier this year that involved a white death row inmate, the lawyers pointed out. But a U.S. District Court judge and an appeals court rejected the petition, allowing the execution to go ahead as planned. Texas had argued Young deserved to die, writing in a legal filing, "He provides no direct evidence that any member of the board acted with racial animus." Young, then 21, murdered Mr. Patel shortly after he had raped a woman while her 3 children watched and then abducted her, according to court records. The victim told the Express News she was angry that Young didn't acknowledge the rape or apologize to her and her family before he was executed. She added, "I'm so pissed. I hope that his death was painful, and I hope that he goes to the pit of hell and burns for life." Young, who was just 8 years old when his father was murdered, is the 13th inmate to be executed in the U.S. this year. He is the 553rd to be put to death in Texas since the death penalty was reinstated in 1976, the most of any state. Texas has executed 8 inmates this year and has 7 more executions currently scheduled in 2018.